Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to compare and contrast two very popular bags from Chanel, and those being the classic flap bag as well as the boy bag. I have both of these bags in almost the exact same colorway and sizing, so I figured this would be a great way to compare apples to apples if you are interested in both styles and don't know which one that you should go for. I've had the boy bag for probably about 2 years now, and then last year I purchased the classic flap bag, so I do have a little bit of time under my belt to have used these and to make better opinions on the bags themselves. So if you're interested in handbags, luxury, or fashion, please be sure to subscribe down below and give this video a thumbs up. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first bag that I want to share with you guys today is probably one of the most classic handbags out there, and that is none other than the Chanel Classic Flap Bag. This is obviously in the black leather. This is caviar leather, meaning it's pebbled and a little bit more durable than the lambskin, which is very smooth. I also have this in the shiny gold hardware, and this is in the small size. So this handbag comes in, I think, 3 or 4 different sizes. You have the small one, you have the medium one, which has 1 extra quilting, you have the jumbo, which is all around a little bit bigger, and then I believe there's also a maxi one, which is almost like a travel bag. It's very large. That one is less common these days than the 3 small, medium, or jumbo sizes. And then next up, another one of Chanel's most popular handbags is the boy bag, and this one, as you can tell, looks very similar to the Chanel Classic Flap Bag that I have in the whole colorway. This is again in black caviar leather. It also has the quilted details here as opposed to the chevron, and this also has gold hardware. However, this hardware is a little bit more antiqued gold, meaning it's not so shiny. It looks a little bit more aged and edgy. This bag also comes in at least 2 different sizes. I know it comes in this size, which is the small size, and then 1 size bigger than this, which is a medium size. I think there is also a jumbo size, which I don't see very frequently, but I wanted to film this comparison video for you guys because both of these bags are pretty similar in that they are the same color essentially, and they're both in these small versions of the respective styles. So today I'm going to go through the details of the bags and which ultimately I prefer. Alright, so let's talk about sizing first. So the Chanel Classic Flap Bag in the small size is 5.7 inches tall, 9 inches wide, and then 2.3 inches in depth here. And the inside also has a double flap, meaning it has this little pouch within a pouch almost, with this beautiful burgundy color. And then we have the main compartment in here. So if we look inside the Chanel boy bag, it's mainly just 1 compartment with a little slip at the back for a credit card or something, but kind of the same idea as the Chanel Classic Flap. It's mostly just 1 big compartment. Now this one, I will say, is a little bit less quality than the Classic Flap because there's actually fabric on the inside lining here as opposed to that beautiful burgundy leather in the Classic Flap Bag, but I'm not surprised because this bag is significantly cheaper than the Chanel Classic Flap. And at first glance, this bag does look larger than the Chanel boy bag in the small size. You can kind of tell, at least from the front, that it does, but the Chanel boy bag in the small size, while it's 1 inch less in both the height and the width than the Chanel Classic Flap, it's a little bit thicker. According to the website, it's about 1 inch thicker. I don't know if that's really the case, but overall from the dimensions, the Chanel Classic Flap actually has less volume than the boy bag, which I can attest to. I mean, they're very close, but I will say that these two, they pretty much hold the same amount of stuff, even though the Classic Flap does look a little bit bigger on the outside. Okay, so now let's get into the wear and tear a little bit. So I've had both of these bags for at least a year. I've had the Chanel Classic Flap for about a year now, and then I've had the boy bag for about 2 years now, or maybe a year and a half. Definitely a little bit longer than the Classic Flap, and both of them are in excellent condition. Now, I don't wear them too often because they're black, and I've just realized that on a weekly basis, I tend to go for lighter colored handbags, so I tend to wear my beige Chanel boy bag almost every weekend, but I'd say I probably wear one of these bags maybe once a month, and both of them are extremely in good condition. There is really no wear at all on anything here. The edges are looking really nice. And like I said, I haven't worn them too much, but I will say that over time, I can see how these bags would wear down a little bit differently from one another. So for the boy bag, I will say that the bottom part does tend to get a little bit more squished and droopy, and maybe you can kind of see that it slouches a little bit. That's because this is not a hard surface. This is a soft leather, so the more you wear it, the more that this will wear down. Whereas for the classic flap, which I really love, the bottom is completely hard. This is almost like a wooden or some type of plastic underneath the leather here to keep this from slouching at all if you were to even carry really heavy things in here. Aside from that, I think the wear and tear on the corners and the hardware would be basically the same, just depending on how much you use them. But the aged gold hardware might look a little bit less worn, just because that's kind of the name of the game when you're going for an aged gold hardware bag. It automatically looks a little bit more worn in, so it might stay looking the same a little bit longer than the shiny gold if you do end up scratching it a little bit. All right, so next up, let's talk about price, because that is probably the biggest difference between both of these bags. Aside from obviously a little bit of stylistic differences, this one is very classic, this one is a little bit more modern and edgy and youthful, but the prices of both of these handbags, while yes, they are both very expensive, the Chanel boy bag is quite a bit less expensive than the classic flap. So the boy bag right now retails for $5,200, whereas the classic flap, both in the small size, retails for $8,200. So we're at a $3,000 price difference between these two handbags, which in and of itself is one, maybe even two other handbags, depending on the luxury brand. So that is a huge price difference. And I will say that the Chanel classic flap has increased in price much more rapidly than the boy bag. When I purchased this boy bag, I got it for about $4,600, and that was, like I said, about 2 years ago. Whereas the Chanel classic flap I purchased for $6,200, so $2,000 less than what it is right now, and that was only a year ago, which means that the classic flap has increased in price 32% since I purchased it, whereas the boy bag has increased in price 17% since I purchased it, which is even longer ago than when I purchased the Chanel classic flap. So based on that, I do think that the Chanel classic flap is a little bit of a better investment, because it is, again, very classic, and it will, I think, continue to increase in price. I believe that Chanel is really trying to rival Hermes and get up to that $10,000 handbag mark or even more. It's crazy to think how much these are going for these days. I have really mixed feelings about that, because obviously I have this one right now, and it's better for me if the price increases, because it means that the value of my handbag increases. But it also kind of sucks, because if I ever wanted to purchase another one, then it's just going to be through the roof expensive. All right, so now let me get into why I have both of these bags in my collection and which one do I actually wear more, which one do I prefer more. So I purchased the Chanel boy bag first because I already had a beige boy bag in the small size that I have worn and loved so much before purchasing this a couple of years ago. So that made me think, you know, the boy bag is going to be wonderful for me. I will wear it all the time, and it's just perfect. It's youthful, it's a little bit more modern, a little bit edgier. And at the time, this was a couple years ago before the pandemic, I was a little bit younger and I was going out to more casual bars than I am now. So this just felt a little bit more appropriate for that kind of environment. You can see that there is a lot of chunky metal, very kind of like edgy and rocker vibes for me, which I did know going into this purchase, but I thought that that would be perfect for my lifestyle at the time, and I did get a little bit of use out of it. But like I said, I just didn't really reach for this so much, and then very shortly after I purchased this, the pandemic hit. all the bars closed down, and honestly, I just kind of moved into a different phase of my life where I wasn't really going to more younger bars. And for those occasions, I feel like the Chanel Classic Flap is just a little bit more my style. It's a little bit more elevated and classic. If you've watched any of my videos before, you probably know that I'm a very classic and minimalistic person just overall and style-wise, and this really suits my style a bit better. I love, love, love this bag. I think it is so beautiful. The straps are a little bit shorter than the Chanel boy bag, so it's a little bit more difficult to wear it as a crossbody bag, which I also think is a little bit more of a youthful style. But anyhow, I still think that this is really the most classic bag that you can get, maybe next to an Hermes Kelly or Birkin. And this is a bag that you can dress down a little bit, but absolutely you can dress it up. You can wear it to weddings or really fancy events. I just wear this for typical evenings out. And while this boy bag might be a little bit better for when I go to a concert, let's say, in the end, I do prefer the Chanel Classic Flap. It's just a little bit more my style. And for this reason, because they are ultimately very similar, and in my mind, they're both black and gold evening bags, I will probably be selling the Chanel boy bag at some point in the future. I really like to keep my collection very, very streamlined, and I don't want to have anything sitting on my shelf that I'm not actually using. So having two Chanel black and gold bags is just a little bit redundant in my opinion, and I know ultimately this Classic Flap is just a little bit more up my alley. So probably when the Chanel boy bag goes through its next price increase, I will look into selling it so I can at the very least recoup most, if not all, of my money on this bag, maybe even a little bit more than what I paid for, which would be incredible and absolutely not what I expected when I first purchased it. When you're going into buying something that is so expensive, it is always comforting to know that if you do need to sell it at some point, you can recoup a good chunk of the money that you put into it if you just waited a year or so. As for what these bags look like on the body, I will have some cutaways so you can see them both on me. I'm 5'4" and roughly 115 pounds for reference, but I think both of these suit me and my body frame really, really nicely. I'm a little bit more on the petite side, and I feel like these are just perfect for evening bags for me. They're a little bit small for an everyday bag, plus they're just a little too fancy in my opinion for an everyday bag, at least for what I do every day. But for evenings, I think they are both really, really beautiful. The Chanel bag I primarily wear as a shoulder bag, whereas the boy bag I will often wear as a crossbody bag because it does have a little bit extra length in the strap and is just really comfortable to wear in that way. But that's all that I have for you guys in this video. Please let me know if you enjoyed it. Which one do you think I should keep and which one do you think I should sell? Or do you think I should keep both of them? I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments. And once again, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.